All right, grouping number 4, veterans with upside. Now these are some younger veterans who are still working their way up, but have all made Sanyaku already. Now the first two, Wakataka Kage and Meisei, are two most recent komusubi, one of whom will be staying at komusubi and one who will be working his way down. But Wakataka Kage, 26, he's the youngest of a sumo family, so you've got to realize if you grow up facing two large older brothers, you learn how to fight in that situation, I would imagine. His technique is amazing, his focus is great. He's just gotten up to the Sanyaku for the first time, didn't do so well, but I think he's got enough technique to be able to work his way back up there. He's already gotten 2 Kachikoshi up in the Joy. The question is he ever going to hit that sort of Harama Fuji level where with a slightly smaller body but with a lot of quickness, he can manage to get those dominant basho necessary for an Ozeki run. Now Meisei I could have put in the past one because he also was working up for an injury. I just see his upward trajectory right now being sort of smooth. He's managed to get 6 consecutive Kachikoshi from coming back from Juryo, including a special prize and 1 double-digit win up in the Joy. These are all great signs, and with the thinning at the top of the Bansuke, Meisei is sort of looking to me like the next coming of Asanoyama, a very, very technically sound rikishi who isn't going to make a lot of mistakes. And since Asanoyama was one of our last Ozeki, I could absolutely see Meisei making a run in the next year. Okay, and here's a veteran we haven't thought about for a while. Abi. Okay, I get it. Abi's 27, he's still in Juryo. He won't be able mathematically to make an Ozeki run for at least 4 more basho. But if you've been watching any of the Abi matches as he's been coming up through the lower ranks, you'll see a very different Abi. He's a bit thicker than he used to be, and his sumo is not nearly as one-dimensional as it used to be. In his last tournament in Juryo, he got an 11-4, great score. He's going to be in Juryo for another tournament. But you will notice 3 of his wins were Yorikiri, the frontal force out, not the Oshidashi, the Abi hands in the face we are used to from Abi-Zumo. Abi, in his entire career, has won with Yorikiri 7 times, entire career. 3 of them were in the last tournament, 3 breaking his previous record of 1, which he has tied 4 times. So it looks like Abi has picked up a few new moves in the lower divisions. So if Abi can make it all the way up to komusubi just doing the face slaps, what can Abi do with a bit more experience and a bit humility and a bit more technique? We do have immediate precedent for a wrestler coming up from the lower divisions, a much calmer, focused, and technically based wrestler. So could Abi be on sort of like a Terunofuji-esque run? Now, get me straight, I don't see Abi as Yokozuna material, but I do see him as a very long-limbed wrestler like Terunofuji with way fewer miles on the joints. If he has learned to use those long legs and long arms to defend, then we can see some real growth in Abi sumo, and yes, possibly an Ozeki run in the next 18 months. And before you say like Abi could never do that, Abi was a komusubi for 4 tournaments in a row, and that was only with one plan. Slapping in the face. What could he do with a plan B or even a plan C? I'm interested to find out. Alright, now we come to the 5th group, the group I like to call the young hotness. Now with the young hotness, I see 3 young wrestlers who have not made Sanyaku, but I see a lot of potential in all 3 of them. Number 1, Kota Shoho. Okay. I get it. Kota Shoho has not been doing very well. He's been stuck in Juryo for a few tournaments. He did so well at the beginning. He shot up the Bansuke, hit the Joy, and then immediately fell down. But he's only 21. What would you say to a wrestler who had just come out of college and was already up in mid-Juryo? You'd think that guy probably has a bit of like wind in his sails, but because we've been seeing him since he's a teen, all we can see is the recency bias of him falling all the way down to Juryo. Now, I don't know if his fall is due to some sort of mental problem, if it's an injury he hasn't been able to shake, but youth is still on his side. If he can figure out a way to get through whatever mental or physical block that's been plaguing him, I could easily see him making his way up to Makuuchi next year. But we're not calling him the next Yokozuna anymore. We're not. Also from Sadogatake Beya, Kotonowaka. Now, Kotonowaka is also a younger guy. He's 23. He had an amazing tournament. Last tournament ended up getting, not the Junior Yosho, but like the third level. He got 12 wins. He's never been up in the Joy. He doesn't really have any quality wins from anyone we'd consider like a threat to win the Yusho, Hoshoryu notwithstanding. This one is a bit more of a project than everyone else, because right now I think of everyone in this episode, he has the lowest top rank of anyone at Maegashira 8. But if we're looking at the last tournament, right now he's looking like he has a great sumo body. He looks as though he's approaching match with a lot of focus and very little fear of the top rankers, so I'll be very interested to see what he can do in the Joy next tournament. But this one's much more of a, we're gonna like tag and release him to the wild and see what he does, more so than a hard prediction we're gonna see him at Ozeki next year. Now, the most interesting of the new hotness, Hoshoryu. Now, of course, him and Kotonowaka have that sumo pedigree where they come from like a line of sumo wrestlers. Kotonowaka, of course, is a third-generation sumo wrestler. Hoshoryu, of course, is the nephew of Asashoryu, former Yokozuna. Now, a bunch of the negatives for Hoshoryu were also the negatives I was saying for Wakatakakage. He's a smaller, thinner wrestler. Is that going to be able to play up at the top ranks? He hasn't really faced a lot of the top rankers regularly yet, so is he going to have enough time to really get inside their heads and come up with plans to beat these top rankers? Well, the upside for Hoshoryu is that he's 22, as opposed to Wakatakakage's 26. The fact that he is performing at this high of a level at this young of an age bodes incredibly well for his future. And in the last tournament, he beat a bunch of guys who we've already talked about in this episode. Wakatakakage, Onosho, Ichinojo, and Ozeki Shodai. If he could put on just a little bit more bulk while maintaining that speed and agility, I absolutely think Hoshoryu could be our next Ozeki. Not only does Hoshoryu have a lot of sort of the Mongolian wrestling techniques down with a lot of the trips and a lot of the side throws, but he's shown himself very, very able to pull off very traditional Yorikiri type sumo as well. And the things you notice with the smaller wrestlers who make it to the top divisions, they have more than a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. They have incredible natural strength, they have incredible balance, and the speed of body and mind that allow them to shift very quickly against bigger opponents. Now, as we said before, the cutoff for Ozeki runs tends to be Maegashira 4 or higher. Hoshoryu had his recent 10 wins and technique prize at Maegashira 5. So if he were to start an Ozeki run here, it would be unprecedented in the modern era. But I will say that these 10 wins portend great things for his near future. So what does all this mean? Do I have any hard opinions about which one is going to be the next Ozeki? Of course I do. There's going to be a list. Now, I've ranked them all 1 to 6, but I honestly think anywhere from 4 to 6 could be switched within each other, and anywhere from the top 3 could be switched with each other. I think they're two sort of groupings. Number 6, Meisei. He has a great sumo body. He has a lot of good instincts. He seems to be doing pretty well in the top divisions. The question is he going to learn to beat the top rankers regularly and start getting into some truly dominant as opposed to just sort of regular kachikoshi? But, as I said before, he's got a lot of momentum. He hasn't gotten makekoshi since he's come back up from Juryo. Things are looking good. Number 5, Daisho. He's still only 27, and he has the technique to win a tournament. We just saw him do it. The question is, can he put together 3 dominant tournaments in a row with that fighting style? Number 4, Takayasu. Now, we've seen him put together excellent basho at the top divisions, but they all tended to be a few years ago, and he hasn't put together a truly dominant tournament since he's returned from his injury. Does he just have too many miles to be able to put together 3 dominant basho? And will he suffer a penalty because this is his second time up? Will the JSA make him sort of prove himself to a higher standard before he is awarded Ozeki again? And will he ever win that Yusho? Now here's the top tier of guys I think could be our next Ozeki. Now, I have them sort of ranked as sort of like 1A, 1B, and 1C, but I'm going to put them in order of youth to oldity. So, number 3, Hoshoryu. Now, he's the youngest of all of the contenders we talked about today, except for Kota Shoho, but he's not even in Makuuchi right now. He grew up in wrestling and in sumo, and his confidence has seemed to have grown so much since he entered the division last year. The question is, as I've said before, his size, his technique, and he doesn't have much of a track record against the top rankers yet. Are those going to be actual handicaps for him going forward? I don't know. But in terms of technique and focus, I see him right now as the cream of the crop. Number 2, Ichinojo. The Mongolian Mountain. He's come back from injury. He's come back about 50 pounds lighter. And size, as a strategy, never really goes out of style. Even if you're tired, you can still be heavy. And that sometimes can be enough to win a close match. He has a lot of experience at the top ranks, facing a lot of the people he's going to need to beat to make Ozeki. He's already come very, very close to winning Yusho before, and in the absence of dominant Yokozuna, or in the presence of injured Yokozuna, we could easily see Ichinojo have one of those great tournaments and take home his first Yusho. All right, I can already feel the comments blowing up a little bit, but right now, I think the closest person we have to Ozeki is Takayumi. He has the resume with 2 Yusho. He's shown himself able to get double digits in the Sanyaku even in the past year. The question is he going to be able to put together a run of 33-ish? Or if we run into a situation where we lose a couple more Ozeki, or we end up losing our very, very injured Yokozuna in the near future, I would say Takayumi would be the closest to being sort of field promoted on the way up. A guy who always shows up every tournament very, very focused and is going to put his best out there on the mat, or the ring. When it comes down to it, do we see Takayumi as being appreciably worse than a Takayasu or a Shodai right now? Or is he right in that exact same tier of veterans who stay in the Sanyaku? Now, I will admit, this was a harder exercise than I thought it was going to be. Every single rikishi we discussed today has sort of an issue with them that would keep them from getting to Ozeki. So let me know what you, the people, think. Hit me up in the comments. How close do you think my rankings are? Or are there people you think I have forgotten? Please, hit me up in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Dohyo here on Mr. J-Wag's channel. We are going to be here in Utah for a bit, but we are still going to be giving you all the hot sumo content you crave. We have more Shadow of Hakuho coming up. We have a few more episodes left. We're just past Yusho number 31, so we've got 4 or 5 more amazing episodes for you to check out. And of course, we are going to have our bolder predictions for the next Basho coming up in a month. We are very excited about that. So everyone, stay strong, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time on the Dohyo.